Okay, we're welcome back. So if we have paid attention to what we have discussed in the first and the second session for today in treating classical conditioning, then we can easily relate to it in our different phases of life in terms of business, domestic, different phases. We'll be able to apply this. Anyways, like I said, we're welcome back. My name is Siddik Salis. For the purpose of YouTube, let me welcome our cherished subscribers too. If you haven't subscribed to the Faculty of Intellectuals, please do, also that we benefit from each other. Okay, so the next topic we are discussing on the classical conditioning before we go to the application, which we are about to finish classical conditioning today. Like I said, we'll continue tomorrow with operant conditioning, and it will be in the morning. Okay, so if you're here, please note the time down. Probably by 11 or 10, I will prompt you that we'll be having class. Okay, I can't really tell, but hopefully 11:10 there we'll be having class to finish operant conditioning. If you're able to master this too, then you are good for how do you call it? Essay questions, because it comes with application of learning theories, and this is one of the learning theory. Okay, you are good. You'll be able to solve a lot of objectives and feelings. So let's take keynotes about these very topics. Okay, so these are some factors that affect learning. I should be skipping this part, but let me just go through them. So factors affecting classical conditioning. We have attention. Okay, so attention is being aware of your immediate surrounding. Okay, being consciously aware of immediate surrounding. Sometimes, let me do this quickly for the sake of example. So those who can see me, where is my video? Okay, good. Okay, so for those who can see me, I'm just going to give you an example of attention, which is a course you'll be doing in next semester, I think, under how do you call it? Cognitive psychology. Okay, attention is on it. It's a big topic on its own in cognitive psychology. So you see, this is an example of attention. You know that some people, they'll be talking to you, you say pay attention, they say they are paying attention. What they don't know is that there are a lot of stimuluses, a lot of stimuli around us. And until you pay attention, there will be no memory formed. There will be no memory formed. So if no memory is formed, how then do you expect to condition the person? The person doesn't even have the information in the first place. How do you expect the person to provide or provide a feedback? There won't be feedback. There won't be anything. Okay, because memory is not formed. So let me give you an example. Let me mute everyone first before the interruption starts. Okay, so we can all see me right now. What the background? You can see my background. How many lines is there in the curtain behind me? Now, do you know what you're going to do right now? You're not going to pay attention to it. Look at the color again. And now you are going to start to count. This is what we call attention. But all this while you are seeing it, you can see that I'm seated somewhere and there's a curtain behind me. But definitely, you've not paid attention to it. Why? Because it's not of importance to you. It's not, yes, and that is it. This is how life is to us. There are a lot of stimuli around us, lot of stimuli, auditory, visual, tactile, but we don't pay attention to them because they are irrelevant. Until they are relevant to us, why not? We pay attention to them. And when we pay attention, so we are saying that only when you pay attention, then there will be some form of conditioning. So attention is very much important when it comes to forming classical conditioning. So let's go back to the slides. So classical conditioning can also be affected by how much attention an organism pays to stimuli. Let's come to the example. Human beings tend to notice visual stimuli more than auditory ones. Rats, I said this from the beginning, rats are good at auditory stimuli and pigeons are good at pecking. So you see, you have to look at the organism and what it can relate to in terms of attention. Imagine you are conditioning a blind man using visual stimulus. You see, there won't be anything conditioned. Same applies to a deaf, someone who is deaf, a deaf person, and you're using auditory stimuli. Prior exposure also affects learning. Classical conditioning, let me say. So prior exposure is when the organism is already exposed to the stimulus you want to condition the organism to. The probability of classical conditioning here will be less, unless you have to go over it and repeat it and again and again. We all remember Little Albert in J.B. Watson's experiment, Little Albert, the guy that they associated a horrific or horrible, or let me say horrific sound, okay, with, how do you call it? Is it a rat or something like that? Then at a point in time when they release the rat, the Little Alberts, the boys start to show fear. Okay, show fear to the rat. But initially, the boy wasn't scared of the rat. Now, imagine this boy has a prior exposure. He's already a friend to the rat or a friend to a cat. And now you want to now you want to condition it using some horrible or horrific sound attached. So when the sound comes, then the cat comes out. Okay, it will take some time before, how do you call it? There will be there may be conditioning. Okay, so that's the effect of prior exposure. Meaning, if you want to condition, if you want it to be stronger, or if you want it to be strong, you have to use something that is not already exposed to the organism. And I hope we understand this. Okay, so let's go to the next factor. Compound condition stimulus. Okay, so when multiple condition stimulus are available, conditioning may be divided. In essence, when two or more condition stimuluses are stimuli are paired with the unconditioned stimulus, each may become conditioned, but sorry, I was having a call. Okay. What is the dial? Who is dialing? Oh, okay. Okay, so says in essence, when two or more conditioned stimulus are paired with the unconditioned stimulus, each may become conditioned, but to varying degrees. So if you are pairing, let's say, the sound of something, and that is auditory, and then the vision of something, one would definitely overshadow the other. So example, a tone and light, not overshadow per se, but one will be stronger in terms of degrees than the other, okay? A tone and light are presented together, followed by the meat powder. After the tone and light compound come to elicit a conditioned response. Conditioning to each stimulus, when assessed separately, sometimes shows a weaker conditioned response. Conditioning to each of the stimuli alone than to the compound, the two presented together. So when we say compound, just means that more than one. So what we are saying here is that when we present compound stimulus, we should expect one becoming more powerful or more eliciting than the other. Basically, that is it. Then the contingency. Contingency is about if the organism if you present, for example, the sound of a bell, it should come with something, right? That's a contingency. It should be predictable. The condition stimulus should be predictable. It should be able to tell the organism that so and so is going to follow. Okay, so it is the predictability of the occurrence of one stimulus from the presence of another. In other words, it is the reliability of the conditioned stimulus in predicting occurrence of the unconditioned stimulus. So let's move on. So information. The conditioned stimulus should carry certain information. Like I made an example from the beginning with the bell. Okay? I made an example with the bell. When the bell is rung at a certain time in school, we know that, okay, it is break time. Okay? It is rung at a different time, we know that, okay, it is break over. So meaning the bell gives us certain information. Okay, so the conditioned stimulus should carry that information. For example, when we perceive rain, when it's about to rain, what do we do? What do we do when it's about to rain? We expect that there will be light out if we are in Ghana. If you are in Ghana when it's about to rain, you know, these people, they are like negative correlation. When one is here, when one is coming down, one is going up. When one is going up, one is coming down. So the when we perceive, how do you call it? When we perceive rain, we expect, it gives us information about light out in Ghana. Usually anyways. For example, the sight of a smoke or smelling of a smoke tells us that there is a fire somewhere. That's an example. Okay. So biological influences. So our biological tendencies also plays a role. Okay, plays a role in, how do you call it? Conditioning. Belongingness. In classical conditioning, not all associations are readily learned. If a conditioned stimulus and non-conditioned stimulus are seen as belonging together by an organism, this will aid conditioning. There is evidence that an association between two stimuli is readily formed if the items somehow belong together. Studies have shown that certain conditioned stimulus are more readily related to certain unconditioned stimulus than to others. This is because animals have a built-in predisposition, that's biological, sometimes called preparedness for certain associations rather than others. Okay, like I said, I wanted to rush very fast and finish this thing. Okay, so the conditioning theory of phobia. Here we are going to the application of classical conditioning principles, okay, to humans. So let's go to the first one. Treating of phobia. This goes into clinical psychology. So it plays a role in clinical psychology. In treating phobia, we use classical conditioning, but the question is how? For example, we either use flooding or systematic desensitization. Okay, so it helps in flooding and systematic flooding is, I've taught you this, we've discussed about this in level 100, right? So what is flooding? That is attacking the organism with the stimulus, okay? With the unconditioned stimulus. So for example, if someone is scared of cat and you want the person to come out of that fear, that irrational fear of cat, what do you do? So according to flooding, let's say you lock the person in a room. You lock the person in a room and then you leave the person with a cat. You make sure there is food, water, everything in the fridge. Everything the person will need is in the room. The person wakes up very tense and scared of the cat and all that. But the person will live with the cat for some time and realize that the cat will not actually do anything harmful to him or her. After some time, the person will become used to, how do you call it? The cat, right? That is flooding. Although most people discourage that. So let's move to the opposite side. That's systematic desensitization. So why not discuss with the person about a cat? and the beauty of a cat. So that is, you are now enhancing the person's cognition about cat. Okay, you are now apprehending the person's cognition about cat, how beautiful it is. Maybe watch a movie, maybe do some few things before, how do you call it, presenting a live cat to the person. So that is systematic desensitization. The person is sensitized. Yesterday we learned about sensitization. If you have not watched yesterday's video, try and then take a look at it. We talk about sensitization. So desensitization is what we're talking about here. At first you were scared of the thing. That is sensitization. So anytime you perceive the thing is coming, you either take stick or something because you are sensitized about the thing. Okay, this sensitization is now taking you away from that fear, reorienting your perception about that stimulus. Okay, so we do it systematically. So that is systematic desensitization. So let's say a fear, someone who fears height, irrational fear of height. So instead of the person just taking you on a height, that is flooding, the person will take you to the first step, to the second step the next day, third step. So that's systematic desensitization. So we associate something you like, okay, something you like to what you don't like. Okay, so you hate height. So we associate nice things that you like to height. Height is what you don't like, right? So we'll condition you with something that you like. So we'll find something that you like to condition you to what you don't like, so that eventually you get to like it. Okay, so psychologists can offer a variety of explanations as to where fears come from. So it is known that if someone is scared of heights, definitely the person has either watched a video that someone fell from somewhere already. So that person has associated falling from a height. The person fell down in the movie and the person was very much hurt. So this blood he saw with the height, falling from a height, he has associated that. That is classical conditioning. So you use classical conditioning to unlock that fear, okay, to desensitize the person from that fear, okay? So classical conditioning can be used in treating phobias. Next, weaning a child from breastfeeding. We've mentioned this in our previous video, that when a lactating mother wants to wean a child from breastfeeding, the mother will then apply, how do you call it, a substance. Usually that's what the mothers do, a substance on there, something that the child will not like, to the breast, so that when the child tastes that bitter substance, that will be a conditioning stimulus. Okay, and the child will be like, the breast is bitter, but it's a substance. So with time, the child wouldn't term or wouldn't perceive breast to be bitter. Okay, then the mother will be free. Advertisement or advertisement. In advertisement, that is in business, okay? That's in consumer behavior. Usually you realize that they use celebrities in advertisement to advertise, right? Why? Let's say you see someone who has a light skin and okay, so you have a light skin, go and advertise this skin tone product or skincare product. So people would then associate the softness of this person's skin to the product, right? Or they like the person. They like, for example, Kudus. And Kudus is advertising energy drink. So because you like Kudus, you'll be like, oh, and Kudus is using this, and that's why he's strong. So you associate Kudus with the drink. That's something you like is Kudus, okay? So can you call that a counter conditioning? Which one? Which one can you call counter conditioning? Is it the advertisement or which one? Or the breast feeding? Let me understand, okay? Okay, so you associate a celebrity to a product. Oh, if this celebrity is in the middle, maybe that's why he's that strong. So you then get to like the product. So the product in this case, the product is actually, is it the conditioned stimulus or the unconditioned stimulus? The product becomes the conditioned stimulus because that is not actually what you are interested in. Whom you are interested in is Kudus, not the product. But they associate Kudus with the product for some time. The product was associated with Kudus for some time, and then you start to like the product. Anytime you see the product, you remember Kudus, and therefore you are interested in buying the product. Okay, so that is an advertisement, and it is used differently all over the world. The police, we've used vehicles, visibility of police vehicle or the siren, or when the moment we see that, we associate that with arrest or fine. Because of that, we don't want to be arrested or be fined, and therefore we behave. So the police also use this. Okay. In this case, I think we've exhausted much of our time. As you can see, I'm still in the office, so I need to close as well. And I believe some of you too should be tired by now because we've taken a lot. What you can do now is now revise. Do revise. The video will be posted on Faculty of Intellectuals platform on YouTube, so you can relax yourself and go through them, listen to them over and over again, and maybe you'll be fine. If you have a question, floor is open. Okay. Eba. Okay. The floor is open, so you can ask a question if you have one. If not, then we meet tomorrow. So you see, before we go, just remember how classical conditioning is formed and how it can be used, even in bedwetting. And erases, I think it's called bedwetting. How can classical conditioning be applied to treat bedwetting? Classical conditioning to be used in, how do you call it? Breast weaning, okay? For lactating mothers who want to wean their children from breastfeeding. How can classical conditioning be applied in education? So you just have to know the terms, right? You just have to know the terms, or what we call the elements in classical conditioning. If you know them, then you just be associating it with, for example, when I mentioned the police vehicle and arrest, which of them is the conditioned stimulus and which of them is the unconditioned stimulus? And what will be the conditioned response? The conditioned response will be to drive well if you are driving, simple. If it's a thief or an armed robber, stop, the person will run away because the person is scared of arrest. Okay, so the siren and the arrest, which of them is a conditioned stimulus? The siren. That's what the person had. The person is scared. What does the person like or dislikes? The person dislikes arrest, so the person will run. Okay, so this kind of things, you have to have them in mind and use the terms when you're answering questions. However, I said we will be answering past questions, hopefully starting from tomorrow evening. And that's why tomorrow I would like us to have the morning session class. You can be in your office or in the hostel or home and then still be listening. On this note, we call it a night if there's no question.